Okay, so you should actually try to attempt cosine functions on your own as well. And actually from here, if you use your calculator to key in the values of x, which is from negative 360 to 360 degrees, you will get certain values here. Okay, I may have not done it well, but I think it should be fine. Yeah, correct, it should be fine. Okay, so you have these values, and how you draw your graph is very interesting. Instead of drawing like the sine curve starts from the origin, right? But right now you have all these points that starts here. So as is at 0, 90 degrees, deep, and then 270 degrees and 360 degrees. Then you have negative 90 is 0 again, negative 180 is negative 1, 0, and 360 degrees. Now you realize that if you look at your graph right now, the points, it will look something like that. Okay, it's still the same shape as sine x graph. Okay, exactly the same, but just that your starting point is slightly different, and how you draw is going to be different. So remember at 1 here, this is going to be a turning point as well. So when you start drawing from here, it will just look something like that. Okay, it will come down just like a quadratic curve. Okay, I'll show you one more time. It will look something like that. Sorry, I need to rotate my. Okay, and then with that, we are going to bring it down. Okay, to 180 degrees. Okay, and then we'll bring it up to 270 degrees, and then. Okay, I'm not connecting it very well, but you get what I'm doing, right? Something like that. Okay, so it just looks like that, and we're just going to replicate these on the other side of the graph. Oh no, I erased it by accident. Okay, it will be something like that. Okay, this is not as good as I thought it would be. But yes, let's do this well. Okay, so it takes a bit of practice to actually get here, but I'm sure that over time you will get used to it. So if you want to like diligently draw it out like that, it will really just simply look like this. And what you cannot see is actually I'm rotating my iPad to actually draw this entire thing. So your sine graph and cosine graph, right, has exactly the same shape, just that the starting point is different. Right, so at the sine curve, it starts from the origin at 0, 0, but this one doesn't. It starts at a maximum point, and that's what we see here. So that means if we were to translate it into the radian measure, it will actually look something like that. From here, go down, go down. Okay, it's going to be the same thing again. I'm just going to do a rough sketch because I don't have the time to actually do the whole thing. So it's pretty much a rough sketch of what's here. Okay, as I can tell, I'm doing point to point because from each point to each point it's going to be like a quadratic graph, and it will be much easier to do point to point as compared to doing like one whole stretch at one go when you draw such graphs. Okay, so just take note on that. Okay, so something like that. Alright, so this is actually how your cosine graph works, and you can go ahead to answer these few questions. Feel free to pause. And if you look at it, for 0 from before you feel free to pause, answer them on your own before you listen to you see my answers here. And so in this case, what we have here is firstly the values of x when cosine x equals 0 is just simply 90 degrees and 270 degrees. When it's equals to 1, it will be 0 and 360, and when it's negative 1, there will be only 180 degrees. The maximum value, if you realize, is going to be the same as sine x, so it will be 1 and negative 1. And the period is also 360 degrees, as the same thing, okay? The axis of curve, which is where it rotates about, is the halfway mark between the maximum and minimum values. It's y equals to 0 for now. And the amplitude is still 1. Alright, so it's actually not much difference on sine curve, it's actually about the same. And the translating of, and to actually figure out this is going to be exactly the same as translating sine x curve. It's just now that it's cosine. So that's where you need to be careful about. So do go back and take a look at that particular video on how do you translate the graphs. And yep, that's about it for this introduction to cosine functions, cosine graphs. Sorry.